beautiful day here in Washington, D.C. The polar vortexes have gone back to the poles, taking a lot of heat with them. Last night we were talking with a scientist from the University of Florida, oddly enough, who's doing research in the Arctic. I could see if I was like with the University of the Arctic, I would want to do research in Florida. Anyway, he was saying that the peat, the permafrost, much of it is peat. The permafrost is melting at alarming rates around the world. It's got a lot of scientists really freaked out because he said, and this is something, a distinction that I hadn't gotten before that has to do with global warming. Methane, when it's immediately released into the atmosphere, is about 100 times more potent than carbon dioxide, molecule for molecule, as a greenhouse gas. Over about a 20-year period, it begins to degrade. After about 20 years in the atmosphere, it begins to degrade and continues over the next 100 years. In fact, actually, I mean, it begins degrading right away. But anyhow, if you look at it over a 20-year period, or over a 100-year period, it's about 20 times as potent as carbon dioxide. If you look at it over a 50-year period, I think it's 33, 35 times, whatever. So you get these different numbers. But whatever it is, I mean, 20 times more potent means 2,000%. Right? So it's a lot more potent. And what he said was that the problem with permafrost is soil that is typically covered with snow and is frozen year-round. It's permanently frosty. And when the snow melts and the soil is exposed to the sun, the soil, which is filled, I mean, this is soil, he said, from before the last ice age, it's very, very, very old dirt filled with old dead plants, lots and lots of organic matter, lots and lots of carbon. In fact, he said the carbon locked up in the permafrost, just in the Arctic, is 4 to 6 times, as I recall, the amount of all the carbon in the atmosphere right now, which is mind-boggling. But here's where it gets really scary, and something I didn't realize, or really interesting, or both. And that is that when permafrost melts, because ice occupies more space than water. You ever had a bottle of water sit outside and freeze and it bursts pipes burst in the winter, right? Because as water turns to ice, it gets bigger. So as the permafrost melts, the ice crystals in the permafrost melt, they turn to water, and that causes the permafrost to collapse. It settles down. It actually drops. It'll drop inches, feet. And as it drops, the water that used to be ice in it floats to the top. The dirt is settling, which means that the bacterial processes that are happening in the permafrost are no longer what's called aerobic bacterial process. In other words, oxygen-consuming bacteria. Oxygen-consuming bacteria convert plant matter into mostly carbon dioxide, which is bad, but it's not anywhere near as bad as methane. Anaerobic bacteria that exists without the presence of oxygen, anaerobic deteriorate, and it's not all bacterial. Some of it's just straight chemical reactions. Anaerobic processes convert the carbon, the carbohydrates, the sugars and starches and cellulose and whatnot of this ancient plant material, convert it directly into methane. So when permafrost melts, more often than not, it immediately goes anaerobic and it starts producing methane like crazy. And he said that's happening all over the Arctic right now because all this warm air that was, the cold air came down here, picked up a bunch of our heat. I mean, I was running heater in the boat all the time, right? All of us were, I think, In fact, we even had a frozen pipe. It's hard to keep the thing 60 degrees. And then, it goes back up there. Because that cold air wasn't supposed to come down here in the first place. Normally, the jet stream would keep it away from us, but the wall of air that keeps the jet stream up to the north has been weakened by global warming, by a reduction in the temperature gradient between the northern latitudes and the temperate, in our latitudes, between the Arctic and us. Meanwhile, the IPCC report, this new IPCC report came out a week or so ago, and the Heartland Institute, God bless them, bless their little hearts. The Heartland Institute has come up with the NIPCC report, the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change. The IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's the UN. And the president of the Heartland Institute, Joseph Bast, says that climate scientists have been corrupted. Here's what Limbaugh had to say about them this morning, about regular climate scientists, the 97, 98, 99% who say, look out.
But it is a way to get grant money and research money, and that's how these people make a living. They don't actually work, and they don't actually produce anything. They just feed from the public teat. And any number of them do it, and this is how they survive. This is how they live. They don't have jobs. They don't have salaries. They live off of taxpayer money, grant money, or fundraising. Siphon some of that.
Right. That's courtesy of Media Matters and the Limbaugh Show. And so this NIPCC report, I mean, the lead authors and the authors of it, Fred Singer. Well, first of all, who is the Heartland Institute? The Heartland Institute has received around $67 million over the past 30 years from groups including ExxonMobil, the Koch brothers, and the Scaife Foundation. Right. Back in the 90s, these same people were shilling for the tobacco industry. In fact, Joseph Best, the Heartland Institute current president, in 1998, said the EPA had to twist and torture its data to find a public health risk from secondhand smoke. Philip Morris, Tom Borelli is one of their executives. He actually wrote a memo in 1993 calling the Heartland Institute part of their 5-year plan. Fred Singer, in 93, was hooking up with Philip Morris and APCO Associates, PR firm, to debunk studies showing the link between secondhand smoke and cancer. Right. But, that didn't bother the good folks at Fox News, oddly enough. I mean, you could call it blatantly dishonest, but here's
it's been a few minutes. Want to talk about Obamacare?
Sure, why not?
So let's talk about it.
It's been a big success. The White House has been touting the fact that 7.1...
I got the wrong clip. That was, this is, Media Matters. Oh, here it is right here. Media Matters is all over this. I mean, they yeah. Oh, come on.
So an international group of scientists are now saying that they have debunked a recent report that came out of the UN on climate change. They're releasing their own findings. They say that the doom and gloom is all wrong, according to their science. Mike Tobin is live in Chicago. So good morning to you, Mike.
Yeah, so on it goes. Yeah, we've got, they spent 4 minutes on this. They spent 5 minutes on the original IPCC report, mostly making fun of it. And it's all... misinformation, and not mentioning that these guys are funded by the fossil fuel industry and the right-wingers, and it's all very bizarre. Very bizarre. So what do we do with this stuff? I think we call it out. And I think we start talking about the coal... Hang on just a second.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Instead of calling them the coal barons or the oil barons, we need to start calling them the carbon barons. We need to invent a new phrase.